securing one product, one Coca-Cola bottle, or one suit. It's quite, you can find out to different mathematical process, but it's not convenient, right? Janitor salary. How much janitor salary is associated to production process? It's going to be very hard to find out, right? So maintenance worker, whether the equipment is, functionally, it have no problem during all the week or all the month, but still you have to pay for security and maintenance, department. How much cost is allocated to one product is quite hard. So we call this indirect labor. So manufacturing costs that cannot be easily traced directly to specific unit. The core point here is specific unit. We call this is manufacturing overhead. So manufacturing overhead includes both material and labor cost, but the nature is that is indirect. So indirect material and indirect labor. So that labor cost that we cannot easily trace, we just put it in manufacturing overhead. That material which we cannot easily trace, we put it in indirect material. Right? Ali, Anis, Jinpyo, Subhan, any question? Okay, so can you give me another example of indirect labor?
Can you qualify, for example, like rent as one of the indirect materials?
Rent is material or it's cost?
Well, it's a cost, but it's not, is it directly related to the production?
Yes, but it's not the material. It is indirect cost. It is indirect expenses, not a labor. Right? Here we are talking manufacturing. And so that would be maybe non-manufacturing expenses. So we are talking about manufacturing expenses include direct labor, direct material, manufacturing overhead. Right? You are right. Manufacturing overhead does include the rent expense, because rent expense we cannot allocate to one product. Maybe in a week you make 1 million products, 1 million units, but in 2 or 3 days you don't have the order, you make 2 million products, or you make 0.5 million products, or you didn't make anything. Right? But rent is rent. Electricity cost for heating and cooling the factory. Everybody is enjoying that cool air, right? The office staff is also, janitor is also enjoying the AC chilled, atmosphere over there. Production line workers are also enjoying the same stuff, right? Guard is also using the AC. The centralized AC. I'm not talking about the one AC that is specifically for that. In that case, you can easily find out how much electricity cost it has used. But the central AC, centralized AC, right? So it's going to be very hard to find. That is going to be indirect cost, right? Okay, non-manufacturing cost. The three categories were manufacturing cost, direct labor, direct material, manufacturing overhead, right? And now non-manufacturing cost. A product has two costs. It's manufacturing cost and then it's non-manufacturing cost. Under manufacturing cost, three things: direct material, direct labor, and manufacturing overhead. And under non-manufacturing cost, there are two costs: selling cost, administrative cost. Right? So these are not related to selling one unit of product. No. Right? Sometimes you advertise too much, but you couldn't sell even one product. Sometimes you even didn't sell, advertise anything. You sell thousands of units. So it's not related to manufacturing. It is non-manufacturing cost. The selling cost, all the cost for advertising, selling, commissions, and all those stuff will be under selling cost. So cost necessary to secure orders and deliver the products, selling costs. Administrative costs. So all the executive, organizational, clerical job costs, we call this administrative cost. So CEO salary, accountant salary, managerial accountant salary. It's administrative job. He has nothing to do with production. Whether you produce one product, whether you produce thousands of products, he will be paid fixed salary, right? But workers, those who are in production process, they are being paid on units wise basis. If they produce 2 units, they will be paid according to 2 units. If they make 10,000 units, they will be paid according to 10,000 units, right? So their salaries are related to more of the production house, but administrative salaries are more based on head offices or office, which has nothing to do with the production. They normally have fixed salaries, right? These are administrative costs. So all those costs that are outside of the factory premises, we call these are administrative costs. But cost of supervisor of what? Who are supervising the production? This is not administrative cost. That is manufacturing overhead, okay? Indirect cost. Because that has to do with the product, with making the product, manufacturing, right? And those who are making budgets, those who are making presentations to sell the goods, advertising, like you support some games and all the stuff, like Nike supports some, for example, big football players, right? So these are selling costs and administrative costs, okay? So there is a difference between all these stuff. So any person's salaries who is working inside the factory, that is the manufacturing cost. Then we need to decide whether this is indirect labor or this is a direct labor. But if he is not working inside the factory, he is outside the factory, then either he is under selling cost or under administrative cost of non-manufacturing cost. Right, guys? Any question? Oh, what's going on here? Here we go. Okay, now we have this question. So please, I'm setting up a breakout room, and this is a group activity. So I'm going to make just one breakout room because since you have only 4 people, all you need to do, you need to read the question and you need to pick out that whether this is a direct labor, right? Direct material, manufacturing overhead, selling, or administrative, right? So you can just write it down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and after that you can write it down. Okay, this is indirect material, indirect labor, direct labor, or whatsoever, right? So please take a picture and let me set a breakout room. So please, on breakout room, please turn on your camera, okay? That is our policy. So meanwhile, for those who are watching online, so for them, I'm just pausing the video here. And when we resume after a breakout room activity, I will be resume recording. Okay, class, welcome back after the breakout room activity. So we were solving this exercise 2.2, page 60 of your book. So let's talk about his answers. So you see here, the cost of hard drive installed in a computer, it's a direct material, right? Because you can easily trace out its cost, right? Similarly, the cost of advertising in the Puget Sound computer using newspaper, advertising, always selling, right? Similarly, not similarly, so the wages of employees who assemble computers from components right? Assembly line workers in the production line. It's easy because you know that on one how much time needed for the computer to assemble, and how many you know workers are working here, if 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatsoever. So you can easily find out the cost of that computer. And then sales commission paid to companies, salespeople, of course, selling cost, which is non-manufacturing cost. Fifth, the wages of assembly shop supervisor, of course, manufacturing overhead. Remember, assembly shop supervisor, like I told you, since it is working inside the factory, right? He is watching over the assembly line and inside the production. So it is the manufacturing cost, but not the direct labor cost. It is indirect labor cost. Six, the wage of company's accountant, of course, administrative cost. It has nothing to do with production, so it has to do with non-manufacturing cost. Depreciation on equipment. Depreciation on equipment, which kind of equipment? Used to test assembly computer before, assembled computers before releasing to customers. So you are testing this inside the factory. So all those assembled computers, their depreciation, so it belongs to manufacturing overhead. Otherwise, it belongs to administrative overhead, right? If those computers are used by administrative, people, then it would be a non-manufacturing cost. And then rent on facility in an industrial park, a combination of manufacturing overhead, selling, and administrative. So remember, what is the question here? It is rent on facility in industrial park. So if that facility is purely production facility, then it is manufacturing overhead. If the question mentioned that, okay, like here, the company is a very, very small, its assembly shop, retail shop are housed in single facility in Redmond, Washington, industrial park. So it means its production facility is